Hey everybody, welcome back to the Money Is Show, and today we have our special guest, our very first international guest that came on this show, flew all the way from very cold Canada right now, from Vancouver, Canada. Darren Jacklin sits on 3 different boards. Being one of my favorite ones is the EXP model because they absolutely disrupted an industry that was, I'm gonna say stale for quite a while, and absolutely disrupted that market. Sits on the board of EXP, traveled the world, did corporate training for 25 years on helping entrepreneurs just like you in their business and how to grow and scale that business, how to find those blind spots in your companies, of creating extra revenue inside of your current model that you guys should be thinking about. He's also has been on the NASDAQ, ringing that bell 2 different times on the NASDAQ. So on that note, I want you guys to welcome Darren Jacklin to the Money Is Show. Darren, thanks for being on the show.
I'm grateful to be here.
Awesome to have you, man. It's funny when my assistant came in and Brittany, and to even give deeper meaning to what I'm about to tell you, Brittany was not supposed to be here today. I think I told you this. She was she's pregnant and had to go to the hospital last night in the ER, and is not in her normal chipper mood, if you will. And but she came in. In my office. She said, "Hey, so Darren's here, to me for the show, and he is super positive." And she's saying in a good way, because she always works with all the guests, and it's very true, man. You're a super positive outlook person. Where does that come from?
I would say probably from my pain from the childhood. Overcoming a lot of adversities and failures and challenges. I failed grade 1 of public school, when then was misdiagnosed with a learning disability and a reading disability. Was told I was retarded. Wow. And I spent from grade 1 to grade 12 in special education classes. Wow. So you were misdiagnosed
at first grade?
Yeah.
Because whatever, you weren't at the learning scale yet, or hadn't developed enough where other first graders were at the time?
I just didn't fit into the academic mold, that box.
Yeah, the brain wasn't connecting of, I don't want to do this right now. And so they diagnosed you with being mentally retarded.
Yeah. Wow. And then they said I was ADHD, which I always thought was attention developed to higher dimension.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I'd say it is. Yeah.
So I thought I was in a special class, a different kind of class. And so that taught me a lot because I was never around, the normal kids in school.
So you went through the whole school system and the special ed classes, if you will? Wow, and then you graduated from that as well.
Yeah, I was told in grade 11, I was taken out of class one day by a guidance counselor and a school teacher. They brought me to the guidance counselor's office. They sat down with me and said, if you graduate from high school, grade 12, if you graduate, what do you plan to do? I said, I want to travel the world, want to have a portfolio of companies, want to do a lot of things in the world. And they both looked at each other and said, come on, Darren, you're never going to get a college university degree. You're going nowhere fast in a sense, and you're probably never going to amount to much in your life. Yeah. And that really affected me. And a part of me is like, I'll show you. And so I think a big thing for my life now is I don't like being told what to do, right? And so, it comes from my childhood realizing that, everything in life is pain and pleasure in our lives. But I think as I've evolved, I count my blessings every day and I live from a state of gratitude because there's no guarantee we're going to go to bed tomorrow night.
Yeah, or wake up.
Or wake up
the next morning, man.
Yeah.
You talked about positivity, that, in life and in business. And to me, there's that natural thing where when you have that super positive outlook, right, it naturally attracts other people that are like that around you.
Absolutely.
And anybody knows the last thing you want to do is hang out with negative people.
Yeah.
Like if you find a group, sincerely, I've taught classes.
Yes.
When you'll find a group of people, then they're broke, they don't have money right now, they're struggling, and even if they want to get out of it, and they're like, man, I want to grow. And then I'm like, okay, well, let's just go look at your 5 or 10 friends right now. And they're all just like negative and hate life and that type of personality, right? How much do you think positive outlook affects your day-to-day business?
Well, big time, because you're either attracting people or you're repelling people.
Yeah.
Also, you're memorable or forgettable. And so what I always focus on is, motivation is kind of like a warm bath. You sit in the bath and then it cools off. What gets you through the peaks and valleys of life is daily disciplines and daily habits.
Interesting.
So no matter what's going on, if you commit to your commitments, I always say to people, one of the ways that I built my self-confidence, because I used to be very insecure as growing up, very insecure. Couldn't make eye contact with you, felt very insecure, a lot of negative self-talk inside my head. But what I realized was during the waking hours of my day, what do I give my word to? Because a lot of people, you hear in business that talk is cheap.
Yeah.
I think most people cheapen their talk.
They cheapen their talk?
Cheapen their talk. For example, you might do a party or an event and you'll invite a number of people. And all of a sudden, when you go invite people, in the back of your mind's like, oh, do I have to send that person a calendar invite? Do I have to text them, email reminder, phone call? Do I have to get them an Uber or a taxi? Whereas other people, like with me, for example, if you say, hey, I need you to be here, I just say yes and work the details out. And so the key thing is committing to your commitments. And most people, they don't follow through with consistency to what they say. They say, oh, I'll do these errands today. And then they get distracted with something else. And then they diminish the power of their word, which affects their self-confidence, their belief system, and also affects their vibration of energy that they transmit to people. Because people are like, well, I don't trust people. Why? You don't trust yourself because you can't keep your word to yourself.
Yeah.
So the key thing is a self-assessment tool is I always say to people, just be aware of throughout the waking hours of your day, what do you give your word to, and what do you actually follow through and get to completion with? If you just start to monitor that, just commit to your commitments, right? A lot of times, even people being on time. Like to me, I have an alarm on my phone. I'm always on time. In fact, early to me is on time. I'm impeccable being on time. Why? Because, well, two things. One is behavior never lies. And number two is without integrity, nothing works. There's no workability without integrity. And so people, if I get to know you and 20 times I'm always early or always on time, and that one time I'm late, then I'm forgiven because I have a consistent pattern with you that you know that I'm always on time. You know, recently I was on a Zoom video conferencing call. And I went to get on the Zoom call, and all of a sudden, Zoom had to do the security updates. So I was like 3-4 minutes late getting on this call. And the gentleman who was the moderator, I had his email, sent him an email, but of course he was monitoring the call. He didn't check his email. So I come onto the call completely out of integrity, right? So I come onto the call, he's like, oh, Darren Jacklin's here. Let's get started. I said, can I just stop for a moment? So we need to stop the call. I need to apologize to everybody on the call right now because I'm out of integrity. And I need to restore my integrity with the group. He goes, oh, don't worry about it. Let's just go on. I said, no, I am worried about it because in the back of people's minds that's on the Zoom video conferencing call right now, they're thinking, is this guy reliable? Is this guy trustworthy? You know, do I want to get to know this guy, like this guy, and trust this guy? So I restored my integrity by cleaning up it because I gave my word to be there on time. And it was really a powerful exercise for the people to demonstrate integrity. And I had people afterwards privately came offline and said, wow, I never realized the ripple of impact by how powerful our word is. So if people just take inventory of how powerful their word is, what they give their word to personally, professionally, and when you screw up, because we're a human being, you restore your integrity by making it right, by being in communication. So powerful.
There's a lot of stuff you said there. I want to break some stuff down with you.
Sure.
I want to talk about, I actually like the topic you're talking about, which is understanding the power of keeping your word.
Yes.
Because I've never thought about it from this rippled effect that psychologically, what it could do to the actual person. I want to come back to that. And then you talked about your daily habits.
Yes.
And that's a unique one that I want to dive also deep into you with on these daily habits of, is this part of the success? And then what do these look like? But last question, before I do that one, okay, I'm going to come back for a second. And last question I ask you on positivity. When you wake up and you go through, maybe you have a routine or something, is it something that you are, like, I'm thinking from a viewer standpoint, it's like, man, okay, are you born just with this super positive, upbeat personality? Or is it something that in the morning you do exercises, meditation, whatever it is, and prepare and plan yourself to be positive throughout the day? Is it born or is it?
I train myself just like a professional athlete every single day. It's a non-negotiable daily habit. So first thing
when the daily habits now.
Yeah, when I wake up, first thing I do in the first 2 or 3 minutes when I wake up is I just give thanks to all the vital organs of my body. I give thanks to this human body, this meat suit, for everything I do. I thank my feet, I thank all my vital organs, and I just come from a state of gratitude, right? And just being grateful because I get a chance to wake up. And then when I brush my teeth and I shave, I have it all over. I have it in the shower, I have it in my bathroom, I carry my carry-on luggage, have it on my phone. I have 120 affirmations that I say every day to myself. And people say, 120 affirmations, I don't have any time for that. Well, when you brush your teeth or you're shaving or you're in the shower, you can leverage time by doing this as a consistent habit. So I read things to me all the time to reinforce positive behavior because there's so many distractions and negativity coming at us all the time. And then I have my personal
in
promise.
the morning, how many of those 120 do you get through?
Yeah.
All 120 or 40 of them?
So it takes about 7 minutes between shower, shaving, and
you can get
brushing
through
my
all
teeth.
120. Okay.
It takes about 7 minutes for me to do it.
Okay.
And on average, about 7 minutes. And then what I do is I have my goals written down. I have them laminated, my top 10, what I call personal promises. So I don't call them goals or dreams. I call them personal promises. One of my mentors who's passed away was a billionaire named Bill Bartman. He was on the Forbes 400 list. He passed away a few years ago. And Bill always taught me never have personal goals. So call them personal promises, because then they're here. Because now you're making a commitment to yourself by a personal promise. So I have my top 10 personal promises I read every day. And then I journal. I handwrite every day. And I write out every morning and every night before I go to bed my personal promises. I write them out 730 times a calendar year minimum. Then every time I have a failure, a setback, a challenge, or a rejection that impacts me, kind of throws me off, I write out my personal promises again to reset my focus, my mindset of what I'm committed to.
Are your personal promises, I got two questions here. Are your personal promises business related as well? Or is
Personal and professional.
Okay, so in those 10,
yes,
it's a mixture of personal and professional.
Yeah.
And you don't call them goals, you call them
personal promises.
Promises. It's funny, I was recently talking making a presentation and to our power room, and I said, man, I'm so frustrated with goals and everybody goals, and I'm like, and I was talking about the power of words.
Yes.
And I was like, I think a problem that hit me a while back was a goal is something that I tend to set so high for myself that I may not always hit every single goal, because my goals are like way up here, let's say, right?
Yes.
And doesn't mean I'm not going to hit them. It just means I might not have hit them this year or this whatever it was. But my goals tended to be like really big. And I was using the word goals for personal promises. And I said, guys, I think this is a mistake. And I said, who am I as a person? I said, I'm a person that fixes things. Like as an entrepreneur, every day I walk in, it's just like, oh, fix this problem. And it's just our natural tendency to fix things. And when we see things, our brain can't help, as wired as entrepreneurs, to look at it and try to figure out how to do it better and fix it, right? And I said, so at the end of the day, what am I? I'm a person that fixes problems. And so I said, a while back, I changed my goals to problems. And I said, I'm not going to say this is my goal this year. I'm going to say, I have a problem. I'm going to identify it as a problem and I'm going to let my natural DNA talent take over, because when there's a problem, I will naturally go fix it.
Yeah.
I can't stop from fixing it.
Yes.
And so I said, I'm done with goals, and I'm going to call mine problems. And I did, and it worked. Like I'm telling you, and I'm not saying it works for everybody. I'm saying it works for me. However, I'm a positive person, and I fought with, because I don't like. That's not a positive outlook to say these are my 10 problems, right? And I'm going to change mine. I'm going to call mine promises now.
Yeah.
And see if that will allow me to keep doing what I'm doing, because that's a more positive approach, to walking through them and saying them and stuff.
And here's something to expand on too as well, that's a complete mindset shift for people that are watching or listening to this, is that when we write down our goals and dreams or our promises or New Year's resolutions, here's something to consider. Most of your goals and dreams don't require your actions.
Okay.
See, people think the reason why I don't want to write down my goals because I have to follow through and do all these things. I got a busy life, got lots going on. But something I want people to consider is that most of your goals and dreams or most of your personal promises don't require your actions.
Okay.
What it is about creating teams and teamwork. So you're the visionary, you work on the business, not in the business. And so most of your goals don't require your actions. So what I do is whenever I write out my personal promises, I look at, okay, what do I need to work on? And what can I delegate, automate, systemize in my life that will help me work as a team collectively to fulfill on the goal to achieve it?
Yeah.
Right? And then set up my daily habits, and then my week in review, and then my week ahead plan, and then my KPIs, key performance indicators, to now move towards in the direction of achieving that target. Because I know that most of my goals don't require my actions.
So let me ask you this one, because I'm a visionary, and I love, when I say having visions, I don't mean a spooky spiritual thing. I'm just saying like a vision where the company and it's where we're going. You went through 10 personal promises and business, professional promises. Do you feel like that's too many? Like I've done a lot of research where a lot of people are coming back and saying, hey, look, in your business, you should have no more than 3 in a year, right? That way you can hyper focus on these 3. What's the viewpoint on the 10 versus 2 or 3 or 4?
So just some people I've been around throughout my life that have been very successful. I have some regards to my relationship with Tatiana. Some are physical goals and health goals, because without your health is your wealth as well. And then I have business goals related. Then I also have goals with regards to our Foundation for Global Philanthropy. So combine all those 10 goals together, personal promises, makes up the 10.
Okay.
In different areas of my life.
Really different areas.
Yes.
You may only be 3 in business and 2 in personal life or health and 2 in relationships and 2 in the foundation. It's not 10 on your business that's there. It's kind of spread out. Okay, I got you. That makes a lot of sense.
Because business would be more like three targets for the year. And then break that down quarterly and then semi-annually and then monthly and then weekly.
Yeah. And so you write those 10 personal promises out
every day,
every morning and every night.
Yes.
How often do you see yourself looking back, hitting those?
So I average about 7 to 8 out of 10 every year, consistently. I've been doing it for many years.
Okay.
And sometimes I've had 10 out of 10 in a few years, but majority of the time I average 7 to 8 out of the year.
All right, so let's talk about that.
Sure.
I mean, look, in baseball, 7 out of 10, you'd be a 700 baseball hitter, and you'd be the greatest baseball player to ever play the game. You go in the Hall of Fame and own the Hall of Fame. In business, sometimes we say we would judge ourselves because we're drivers, we're pushers, right? And we're like, oh man, 7 out of 10, I failed on these 3. How do you go back to adversity?
Yes.
Right? I mean, I'm not saying that's a huge adversity, but it's the daily, yearly adversities that we're sometimes facing. Not always just this massive adversity. It's just the day-to-day kind of objections and adversities. How do you kind of deal with that? Do you go the positive and say, man, I did 7 out of 10? Or do you go to the negative and say, how do you view that?
I'm grateful, just like I said, out of 10, because I know going in, I may not hit all 10 this year.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it all I got.
Okay.
I'm going to go for the gold medal. Another thing is I always know that, like a lot of times throughout my life, I know that, and this is what I learned in my childhood, is that to become successful, I have to endure both pain and pleasure. And a lot of people want the pleasure. But they don't want to go through the adversities, the pain. I know earlier this year when I started hiking, I wanted to release weight. I was 218 pounds. I was obese. And I was fat because being home and not, close to the fridge for COVID during the lockdown. And so I set a target that I was going to release 20 pounds. And I had a specific, measurable, actionable target of by when. And I metric everything with my Apple Watch. And I actually exceeded the targets where I'm down 32 pounds now.
Wow.
But I created a hiking group. And I started to get around other hiking people that were more advanced than me. So I was joining a group of people that made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I had to level up and skill up. Yeah. They were faster than me. They were more experienced. I started hiking with running shoes and blue jeans.
Right.
And sweatpants. Now I got all the gear.
Yeah.
I worked up to that. But that's how I started. But the key thing is taking the action. But fear doesn't live in action. And most people don't understand that. Fear does not live in action. And when I take people hiking all the time, people ask me, oh my gosh, is there a bear out here? Yeah, there might be bears. So the fear is real. Feel the body sensations of fear, but the threat is not. And that's something when it comes to entrepreneurship or business, is you're going to feel fear.
Yeah.
But the threat is not real. And that's what people have to realize is that fear, feel the fear. Feel the body sensations. Feel how your body feels, getting rejected or someone saying no to you. Feel that. You're going to feel that body sensation. But there's not going to be no direct attack. Nobody's going to shoot you. Nobody's going to beat you up. Nobody's going to hurt you. It's just the mindset you got to develop to go knock on doors. And the key thing I learned is that whatever I lack in skill, I make it up in numbers. So I metric everything. So I know that, for example, if I'm doing something and I have to make phone calls, or I used to knock on doors, make a lot of cold calls, but whatever you lack in skill, you make it up in numbers. So when I was young, I was very insecure and I wanted to meet girls when I was young. Here I am in special education labeled retarded. So you can imagine my self-confidence and self-worth.
Sure,
I didn't feel pretty empowered by myself. So I used to take 10 Canadian pennies and put 10 Canadian pennies in my left pocket.
Okay.
And secretly every day, the goal was to move, every time I said hello or good morning or good afternoon or made a compliment to a girl, I would take 1 penny and move it to my right pocket. And some days I had to go to 7-Eleven or to Denny's restaurant because I couldn't get through the 10 pennies to my right pocket.
Wow.
Then when I started door knocking and cold calling in my early days, building my corporate training business, I would put pennies in my left pocket and transfer them over.
Oh, yeah.
Then I started using whiteboards and flip charts and making little ticks. So I play games with myself.
Yeah.
Because when you play a game, either you're going to win or the game's going to beat you. Like when I climb mountains, I always say to myself, I'm going to beat the mountain, or the mountain's going to beat me, but somebody's going to win. So I might as well go for it.
Yeah.
And that's what I do is I get into the game and be proactive. And it makes such a big difference.
It's unique. You talk about the game side because, and I got 2 questions here on health for a second. And I actually want you to go back and finish the daily habits in a second. But I went through a health thing where I got up to like just traveling and living on the road, and I got to like 280-ish pounds. I was highly obese for my size and height, and would set goals like every year. When I was going through, I was like, I can't do this, and I don't want to be this way, and it would never pan out. And one of the things that kind of took place, or several things that took place, but one of them was mountain biking.
Yeah.
And it was the gamified that naturally took place, because being a entrepreneur, you probably fall in the category of being competitive.
Yes.
You probably have that inside of you. And there's this mountain. It was like, well, either I'm going to win, like you said, or the mountain's going to win. Okay, well, let's have at it. Let's see who does this.
Yeah.
And I would just kept pushing myself, because it was the competitive. It's like, okay, well, I got to get to the top. Where are we going? To the top. Where are we going? To the top. Where are we going? To the top. That's the only answer I knew. I didn't even know how to get there, but my father's trail and go to the top. And it became this gamified process.
Yes.
And I got addicted to, and then it just kept expanding of like, well, now it's like fresh air. And then it was like, and it's funny, I did my last event in the power room, and it's like 4 massive days of workload, and you've done these, and it's really emotionally draining, physically draining, mentally draining. And I got done with it, and it was on a Thursday, and I was talking to Cassie, my partner, and she said, I got up on Friday to get up. She said, because I had the day off of work, and she said, where are you going? I said, it was early in the morning. She said, where are you going? I said, I'm going mountain bike riding. And she said, aren't you exhausted? I said, I am. But if I go, it gives me that sunlight and vitamin D.
And you're committed to your commitment.
Yes, and it's like, man, just get out here, and it just wakes me back up alive again. But my second question to you is, because this is part of the positivity side, I didn't get to, so I dropped from like 280 to like 215, but I wanted to go lower, and I felt myself stuck here. So this is something that has been through my head. Our good friend Larry Yatch was going through my head in the last like 10 days of my life. I'm a meditator, and I just love, when I say meditate, I just love thinking. I'm a ponderer.
So do you schedule thinking time? Like I schedule thinking time on my calendar.
Oh yeah, I have it blocked into certain pieces of my morning.
And I think what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, and I go deep inside of the concept of it, and I'll just like, gaze off, but I'm like in this like zone. I don't know what it is that I do, but lately one of the things I've been thinking about was like, okay, why is it not this way? Why is this last piece that I'm not getting there? And you know what I think it was? I want to ask you this. It was because I kept saying to myself, man, you're so fat. Man, you're so fat. Man, you're so fat. And if all I do is tell myself, my body, that I'm fat, my body only knows that it's fat.
Absolutely.
That's all it knows.
Yeah.
I wasn't giving it gratitude for going where it's been and where we're about to go in this last stretch. I wasn't giving it gratitude of where we're headed.
Yeah.
I was only saying, man, you're just so fat, Drew. Man, it's just, you can't do this. Do you think, in the last 2 days I've been this deep pondering of, I got to change what I'm saying to myself.
Well, and also saying, people say, well, I want to lose weight. You don't ever want to lose weight, because your brain will always want to go find it again. You want to release weight.
Interesting.
So you say, I'm going to release 10 pounds.
It's so important how
when you release it, it's gone for good or gone forever. When you lose it, the brain always looks, you got to find it again.
Where's it at? Let me go put it back on.
Exactly.
I lost that. Let me go find it.
So you're going to release the weight, not lose it.
Release the weight. I think
Same thing when people say, hey, I'll never forget the time that we met. You're going to forget. So I'll always say, I'll always remember the time that we met.
Yeah. Versus I'll never
always
forget.
remember.
I'll always remember when we did this.
Yeah.
I'll always remember we did this. And it's amazing the power of words, not just to other people, which is extremely powerful, but internally, what it does to you in how you say something and how you are treating yourself. And I want you to go back to daily habits now, but I love the first one, and I've never done that, and I'm going to start doing it. I always do gratitude when I first wake up.
Yes.
But I never done, I'm thinking for my organs and my body of what it did. Like I never give it's weird to say, I say it's weird, but it's not weird. It's weird to say I've never given my organs, my heart, my liver, my kidneys gratitude.
Just think how much work they do.
For working 24/7.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna add that to my list of first thing in the morning, because I give gratitude of certain things I go through, but never my organs. I'll give gratitude for my health, but not like. And again, I think it's when we deep dive, we learn more. Absolutely. And I was like, oh, wait, this is way better. I'm not gonna say health. I'm gonna say thank you for my organs and for my kidneys and for working and my heart for pumping all night when I was sleeping. Yeah. I like that really good. Let's finish your daily habits. So you go through and you do the gratitude, and then you do the. So I
write my
affirmations.
Yeah, right. And then I write down my top 10 personal promises to myself. Then I have my top 3 highest priority activities for the day.
Okay.
So no matter what happens, what are my top 3 highest priority activities for the day?
Yeah.
Then I read 10 pages a day. So I grew up with a learning disability, so I was told I never amount to much, never read. So a guy taught me many years ago, one of my mentors, He said, Darren, if you just commit to reading 10 pages a day, is it easy to do? I said, yes, sir. Is it easy not to do? I said, yes, sir. I said, that's the difference. It's easy to do and it's easy not to do.
That's true.
So the thing is, if you just read 10 pages a day of a good book that will elevate your life, 10 days times 365 days in a year is 3,650 pages, which is 12 to 15 books a year cover to cover. But the cool thing about over a course of 365 days in a year is some days you might read 17 pages or 27 pages or 40 pages or 60 pages.
You tend just to keep going.
And that compounds over that calendar year. So you actually end up exceeding the target of 12 to 15 books. You end up reading more.
Yeah.
Same thing I do, I just started doing 10 push-ups a day, right? Because I struggled to just get on the floor and just doing a push-up. Now and people say, well, you should do more. My goal is just 10 a day consistently over a quarter, and then I'll just gradually increase that. So then another thing what I do is I have every Sunday, I sit down and I look at my week ahead. And so I look at no matter what happens this week from Sunday to Saturday, no matter what happens, what's this one thing that must get accomplished as a target? Personally or professionally in my life. There's one thing that's a non-negotiable. I must hit that target, right? Unless I'm incapacitated or something, mental illness or something like that, or some health challenge, but I got to hit that target. And that's what I'm obsessed to focus on. Then what I do is just like an airline pilot on Sunday, I actually speculate and I scenario plan what are all the possible things that can go wrong this week in my life, according to my schedule. Now, one of the things also too is that if things are not scheduled in your calendar, they don't exist in your life. So when people tell me they want to accomplish or they want to achieve something in their life, if they can't show me, so if you say to me, hey, Darren, I want to make more money in my career. Okay, great, show me your calendar. If I don't see revenue generating activities or income producing opportunities or wealth generating events over the next 7 days of your calendar, you're not committed to it.
Yeah.
So the challenge, the chance of you following through and actioning those tasks is very slim. Right? So then what I do is I write down what are all the possible things that could possibly go wrong this week. And then what I do is I speculate and then I create contingency plans, just like an airline pilot. So I know where I'm starting, I know where my destination is by Saturday each calendar week for my week in review. But that way when things happen, I don't waver, because I've got contingency plans.
Yeah.
A lot of times if something happens with most people and something goes sideways, it derails them.
Right.
Whereas me is I don't miss a beat because I'm like the airline pilot flying my plane for the week of what my weekly goals and tasks are. It's part of my, and then every week, every day I look at, okay, what are the possible opportunities and obstacles that can come in my way this week? And then another thing what I do is when I get to Saturday, I do my week in review. What worked, what didn't work this week.
And do you do that on Saturday?
Every Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah. And then what I do is, what are all the tasks I did this week that I no longer want to do anymore? So then I think, do I have to do them or can I delegate them or eliminate them or automate them? So a lot of tasks that we look at, so for a lot of people that are entrepreneurs, you can delegate a lot of minimum wage activities. So a lot of tasks that you can delegate that are minimum wage activities. You can delegate to a virtual assistant, you can hire someone local. When I started, I didn't have any money, so I went to colleges, universities, and I went to their students and I got them to apprentice with me. I went to high schools and got leadership students to come work with me voluntarily to apprentice with me. And I would apprentice them per semester, and then they give me the work experience hours. So it's all, because we don't have money problems in life. We only have thinking problems. There's no lack of money on this planet. There's an overflowing abundance of wealth, right? We just have thinking problems. That's all there is. And so how we make more money is by solving problems, which I call opportunity zones. Right? So whenever people say, well, I don't know if I can do that. Sure, you can do that. The thing is, you got to get out of the way of yourself. You got to replace you, because otherwise you're the cog in the wheel, running that business or running the enterprise. You can't grow and scale.
Let me ask this question. I think this is so intriguing what you're talking about, and I don't know. I'm hoping all the viewers are, because I geek out on this stuff.
Sure.
Because to me, it's these small details. Is what adds up to bigger things that I've achieved. And people ask and on social media, how did you do this or get here? It's like, well, I started on this little bitty thing over here. I just kept building and building. On the weekly, you said you got the daily, 3 daily, and the 1 weekly. Okay.
Yes.
I do something very, very similar. Is your 3 daily, are those more agenda style tasks that you just want to accomplish?
Yes.
Not projects.
They're high leverage activities.
Okay. And then on the weekly objective, does that weekly objective tie back to one of your personal promises, or is it just something that needs to be done?
Everything is driven by my personal promises of what I've set forth. And then also with our group of companies and the foundation, I have quarterly targets that I want to accomplish, right? What we're doing with Link Foundation. So I have quarterly things. So everything feeds in, but the whole thing is my day is spent now visionarily is driving those targets, moving forward towards those targets, and then seeing what's the best and highest use of my time, right? So like one of my so the book called The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman.
Yeah.
So my number one love language is acts of service. That's why I'm doing this interview with you, because I love to be in service to people, because to me, the secret to living is giving.
Yeah, sure.
Right? It's being a go-giver, not a go-getter. And I'm a relational person versus a transactional person. So I love that, because something I discovered many years ago when I was growing up as a kid, knocking on doors, building my rent-a-kid business when I was a young kid, is that as human beings, all we are is a network of conversations. If people can really understand that as human beings, we're a network of conversations. If we're up in the International Space Station and we're looking out the window, looking down on planet Earth, and we map out all the human beings that are on this planet, we're just a network of conversations. All the social media, it's a network of conversations. So anything that you and I want in our lives is going to come from strangers. Strangers, everything we want, everything we need, everything we desire in our lives. The key thing is we're taught as children, don't talk to strangers from our environments.
Sure, yeah.
So why do people not talk to strangers? Because they're told not to talk to strangers, because that's what they're programmed and trained as young kids.
To do that, yeah, for
right?
sure.
So you got to unlearn that. Next thing is, it all comes down to requests and promises. So my promises, my top 10 personal promises. Now, I said earlier, most of your goals and dreams don't require your actions. They require teams and teamwork. So what I do is I play the contribution game. And the contribution game is I want people, because I believe in abundance and prosperity versus lack and scarcity, I believe in taking people with me. And it really enforced it the first time I went to NASDAQ in New York City. I rang the closing bell with the team.
Yeah.
When I walked in there, it was such a surreal experience of going to NASDAQ, because I'd never met anybody ever been to NASDAQ.
Sure.
It was something I'd see on television, right? And I remember walking in there and thinking, as Whitney Houston said, give me one moment in time. It was that one moment in time.
Yeah.
And then the second time going back, seeing people come in and seeing them achieve that milestone. It was an emotional experience for me, just seeing people achieve something that we never thought was possible. Because you have all the naysayers and the skeptics and the critics and the haters and all that stuff attacking you, and you just got to persevere through that. And that's something that people have to realize, is if you want to grow and scale, you're going to get hugged and you're going to get slugged. You're going to get kissed and you're going to get kicked. And you're going to get support and you're going to get challenged. But you have to embrace both support and challenge, hug and slug, kiss and kick, because it's all part of the game. If you go to a sporting event, you're going to have people cheering for the home team and booing the home team. You're going to have people cheering for the referee, booing the referee. So you got to embrace both sides. But a lot of times people just want the one side, which is the positive, and not being the challenge, is supporting them. And that's a big, big thing in people's lives.
Well, as an entrepreneur, you talk about embracing the both sides, right? Because I think there's this big misconception, because I kind of blame a little bit on a lot on social media and this kind of fake entrepreneurial thing that's out there. And it's all on social media, it's all glamour and glitz. And
sell the sizzle.
Yeah, and everything's gonna be perfect and so forth, right? And it's like people always want what say an entrepreneur has, but what they don't want is all the sacrifice that he had to go do.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want that piece of it.
Well, people see my life now, but they don't realize that I made over 100,000 cold calls.
Yeah. They don't want that.
And most
piece
of those calls were no.
Right.
I've been rejected more times than I've had success.
Yeah.
But people don't see that.
Yeah, they don't want to go through the risk that we have to put out there and the nightless sleeps, and they don't want the side of I had to go intern when I was well out of college, because I don't understand this. I need to go find a way, find a mentor, find somebody, and I'm gonna go eat crow and humble pie, but I'm gonna go learn this thing. They don't want that side of it, right? And so you're talking about embracing that side.
Well, I remember days I was making cold calls. I used to make 400 cold calls a day. 2,000 cold calls a week out of the yellow pages and white pages of phone books. We didn't have all this CRM technology. This is the papers where you're highlighting things and underlining things and put things on sticky notes and whiteboards and flip charts in your room. And I'm 3, 4, sometimes 5 months behind on paying my bills. Okay, I'm like, the landlord's going to come. They're going to evict me. They're going to shut my phone off. And so I'm renegotiating with the telephone company just to keep me. I'm going to get. So I close a deal for a corporate training deal, and then they FedEx me a check. And I take the check to the bank. Meanwhile, earlier that day, I'm like, right on, FedEx is here, good. I'll call the bank. I'm gonna tell them that I'm gonna have the money in there for rent, or I'm gonna pay my phone bill. I go to the bank, and the bank says, oh, we don't recognize this check. We're putting a 5 or 10 day or 15 day business hold on the check.
Sure.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I just told my landlord I'm gonna run by tomorrow and pay him the money.
Yeah.
Now I did this last month, and then finally one day I realized I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
this is a vicious cycle I've created. So I confronted myself. And that was, when people, I confronted myself earlier this year on my weight. Hey, enough is enough.
Yeah.
I'm not treating this body like a temple. I'm treating it like a woodshed.
Yeah.
Enough is enough. When I was sick and tired, I remember one time I sat with one of my mentors one day, and he said, Darren, you're flat broke. He says, you need to go home and take a sign and put it on your refrigerator. If people come over, they need to see it. You need to embarrass you. You need to call yourself out and embarrass yourself that you're living in a first world country, one of the greatest countries in the world, and you're flat broke financially.
That's good.
And people are jumping in rafts and they're coming here illegally to get in this country to live the dream.
Right.
And you're flat broke. You have no excuse. You're not living in a third world country in a village with a mud hut. You live in a first world country. And that confronted me.
Yeah.
And most people don't want to confront themselves.
Yeah.
And that's when you really realize that, hey, things are not working. I need to change. I need to become coachable. I need to become teachable. I need to stop buying my BS and need to look at another way of doing things. And that's why what I do today in my thinking time is I confront myself. I have some people around me in my inner circle. I have a guy I meet with every quarter. He sits down with me in an interrogation lunch.
Yeah.
And interrogates me on all the things I'm screwing up on and doing wrong.
Yeah.
And I have Tatiana, my love of my life, my relationship, she doesn't like me saying this publicly, but she's like the integrity police to me.
Sure.
She monitors everything I do to make sure when I give my word to something, because the bigger the game you play, the more the ripple of impact that you have. People listen to everything that you say comes out of your mouth, and that has an impact on people's lives.
Yeah.
Right? And so you've got to be very mindful of what you do, the bigger the games you play. And so people don't realize, it's no big deal, I can go out and do that. But behavior never lies. It's your character of who you are. Success is not something we go out in the world to pursue. Success is something we attract into our life by the person that we become.
Yeah, it's a tough lesson, and it's very hard to understand and accept. Is what you just said. Is that I like that you use the word success, because that means so many things. It means success in business and relationships and marriage and success in money and so forth. But success is something that you cannot go chase. It's just not there.
No.
You have to attract it.
Yes.
And for entrepreneurs, I think they struggle with that. And I'm literally talking about myself as I was starting my career. Is I'm a person that's like, I'm gonna go drive, I'm gonna go make this happen, I'm gonna go create this, I'm gonna go build this thing. And I was chasing this mirage.
Yeah.
And it's so important that as I get older now, it's like, oh man, it was attraction.
Yeah.
It's not that I have to go chase success over there. It's that I have to be success. I have to live success. I am success.
Sure.
And I can attract the success to me by living my life the way that I should live my life.
Absolutely.
But it's so hard to understand because it doesn't make logical sense.
Well, I'll share a story with you where I embarrassed myself and also got called out. So here I am, flat broke financially. I'm raising money for a startup company I was involved with years ago. And I get this guy who's a high net worth, accredited investor, wants to meet with me. So I scrounge up air mile points, all that kind of stuff. I think I sold some furniture to get the plane ticket. I fly to meet this guy. I stay at the Holiday Inn, free continental breakfast. And I phone the guy and he's like, can you come to my office? Well, I didn't have money for a taxi cab. We didn't have Uber back then. Didn't have money for a taxi cab. Couldn't take the bus and couldn't rent a car and didn't know anybody in that city. So I thought, man, I'm flat broke. I can't get to his office unless I walk. And I don't know whereabouts it is. So I just made a powerful request, can you come to the Holiday Inn? And I thought, okay, good. Now I can sneak him in and get him free breakfast.
Yeah.
So inside the Holiday Inn, there's signs around in the continental breakfast area for registered hotel guests only for the continental breakfast.
Yeah.
So to me, integrity was nothing. I didn't give a crap about integrity. So I just want to close the deal and get the check for $50,000. So I sneak this guy into the hotel, he comes in, and here's where I learned about success is not something you go out in the world to pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become. So I start pitching and selling this high net worth investor. Pitching and selling.
It's the worst thing humanly possible.
Exactly.
The worst thing you do.
And he looks at me, and I'm about 3-4 minutes into this pitching and selling. And he looks at me, he goes, Darren, can you just shut up? And I look at him, he goes, can you just shut up or I'm going to walk up the door right now and you'll never see me again.
Yeah.
He goes, first of all, stop talking. He goes, I'm going to teach you something. He goes, you're flat broke right now financially, aren't you? And I'm like, of course, ego kicks in. No, I'm doing good. He says, put your cards on the table. He goes, be honest with me, you're flat broke financially? And they go, oh, no, I'm doing well. He goes, really? So why are we at the Holiday Inn? Why can't you come forward to see me? And why did you sneak me into this hotel where you're not supposed to do this because there's signs on the wall that I'm not a hotel registered guest?
Yeah.
He goes, explain that to me. He goes, you know what? He says, you don't understand what integrity is. And he goes, there's 3 types of money in life. There's calm money, cautious money, and nervous money. Calm money is where you want to get involved with something, and it's calm. Cautious is, hey, I need to do more due diligence, talk to an accountant, talk to a lawyer. Nervous money is you run out the door. Right now, I'm nervous to write a check to you.
Yeah.
Because you can't even manage your own money. So why would I invest in you if you can't even take care of your own money? How are you going to take care of my money as an investor? Mm-hmm. He goes, Darren, I'm going to teach you something. Because I see a lot of you, how I used to be my younger self. He goes, stop pitching and selling and start educating and informing. Mm-hmm. Flip it from pitching and selling to educating and informing. Ask me questions. What's in my portfolio right now? Am I deploying capital? What's the average check size? What do I want to allocate into? And he said, spend 90% of your time on asset protection and risk mitigation. He goes, where people screw up on raising money is they sell the dream, but they don't show the number one question in due diligence an investor always wants to know is, how is my money protected? Mm-hmm. And he goes, if you spend the majority of the conversation getting to know me, like me, and trust me, and build that rapport, that relationship equity, and then you focus on protecting my money so it comes back to me and it multiplies, then I'll probably do more business with you. But when you start selling me the dream and pitching and selling, you're repelling me versus attracting me. Mm-hmm. And I left that day, I was flat broke.
Yeah.
That guy beat me up really bad. Mm-hmm. But I went back to my hotel room and I sat there and I journaled for the next couple hours, the life lessons of what that guy taught me. Whereas other people would have said, screw you, buddy, on to the next investor. But I took that guy, what that guy taught me was valuable life lessons, and he transformed my life. I've never seen the guy since.
Wow.
He didn't write a check. But the guy transformed that conversation for when I realized I didn't have any integrity, right? And I realized without integrity, nothing works. There's no workability. But I didn't know what integrity was until he called me out that day and embarrassed me in that hotel. Yeah. And then when he's told me to stop pitching and selling and start to educate and inform, and then realizing who I was. I realized that day when I walked back, I didn't like me. I didn't like Darren Jacklin. I was a fake and a fraud.
Yeah.
But I was trying to pretend I was somebody I wasn't. Wearing a fake watch, doing all this kind of stuff. And that day, that guy called me out and I said, enough is enough. I don't want to live my life this way anymore. Yeah. And I made that decision that day that I'm going to change. Mm-hmm. And it's transformed my life because I changed who I was from the inside out.
Yeah. And that's where the true, real, only change actually comes from. It has to come from inside out.
Yeah.
But the life that we live, the culture that we live in, the social media that we live in, the society we live in, is all about outward look, outward appearance. And I think it's one of the and I'm not a social media hater. I love social media. Sure. I'm fully supportive of social media. But with everything that's birthed in business, there is a positive and there is a negative side to it. And I think the thing that we have not calculated enough yet is what it's doing to our society's fabric of what you're talking about here, because it's driven so much off of this fake concept.
They don't see the 10,000 hours of hard work behind the scenes.
No.
People see my lifestyle today and they're like, oh my gosh, but they don't see the days where I didn't know how.
Well, they don't see that conversation. They don't go through that side of it of like, I have to admit that, dude, I'm broke.
Or how am I gonna pay my rent? Oh my gosh, I got employees now.
Yeah.
And one of our biggest clients just left. And I don't know how to make payroll.
Oh yeah, I've been in those.
And I gotta have an emergency meeting. I don't know how I'm gonna make payroll.
Yeah.
And I know some people that if I don't make payroll, it's gonna affect the family.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
You know, and how do you have those uncomfortable conversations? And you do things, or you know what I mean? You have to go to an important meeting and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have any money to get there. I remember you talking about Tony Robbins, we were talking about off camera. My first Tony Robbins event I ever went to, I didn't have any money. I sold my furniture.
Wow.
To go to the Unleash the Power Within program.
Wow.
Sold my furniture. Okay? I came back home with milk crates.
Yeah.
And then I met this girl and she wanted to come hang out. And so it was a motivator for me to go and sell stuff, corporate trading contracts, so I could buy some used furniture to furnish my apartment.
Yeah.
I remember one time I had a girl come over to my place for a weekend and my utilities got cut off and I went and bought some candles at the dollar store. And I lit the whole weekend up with candles. She thought it was so romantic. She didn't know behind the scenes I didn't have any money and my utilities got cut off.
Yeah, that's great.
Right?
Yeah.
But people don't see those adversities and those challenges of what we go through. And then we see success today and why it's different for us because we know what it's like. Like I know now when I build companies and grow and scale, and you get some people you hire, they're like, well, how come we don't have $50,000 for a marketing budget? Go out and find a way to get attention and stop traffic.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean? Don't we have $50,000 to work with? No. Well, how did you build up your thing? I had no money. I had to figure it out.
Yeah.
I had to go talk to strangers and knock on doors and make phone calls and cold calls.
Yeah.
Right? And do all these things for free. When I first started my speaking career as a corporate trainer back in 1995, I did over 1,000 presentations through Rotary clubs, Chamber of Commerce, Women in Business, Kinsman clubs, Lions clubs, all that stuff before things started to monetize and materialize over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Many times that I did things. And people are like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do that. I just want to speak on the biggest stages in the world. I want to do all these big things. But when it comes to success, you got to pay full price. You got to pay for in advance.
Yeah, there is no Disney's pass, skip the line on that side of it. Let me ask you this question as we're coming to the end here. I want to ask you, in your career now, I mean, you did corporate training for 25 years, worked with 1 million people, entrepreneurs that you helped train and are still doing stuff today. But let me ask you this question. What would you say in your looking back on your successful career, what would you say is probably the best lesson in business that you've learned that has probably helped shape and mold you the most? What would be a lesson that you learned that's helped you the most in business?
Time will either promote you or time will expose you.
Time
will either promote you
or time
will expose you.
All right, break that down.
It's just a matter of time.
Break that down. What does that mean?
So in life, you can circumvent things and cheat things and do things, lie and stuff like that to people. You might be in sales and you got to pay your rent, or you got a nice car you're trying to take care of, and you can lie to people. You might say, hey, I got to find ways to do offshore with my taxes, things like that. Or you might secretly have a love affair on the side with a spouse or a partner, significant other. Or you may do things unethical in your company, right? Like you have a business where you're, environmental things, so you're burying things or doing things unethically. And time will either promote you or time will expose you. It's just a matter of time. People always ask me to go, hey, Darren, I'm doing a character reference on this person. What do you think about this person? I've heard they're doing this and that. I heard they're doing drugs, or they're cheating on their spouse or partner, or they're doing this. What do you think about that? I said, time will either promote them or time will expose them. It's just a matter of time. If we look at some of the people, the Tiger Woods, we look at some of these men in the world today, over the years, they got exposed because of things with the Me Too movement and stuff like that. So time will promote you or time will expose you. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
So if you do things the right way, with integrity, authenticity, vulnerability, you will get promoted, right? So I always focus on doing things right, principled set of leadership, focused on things from a compliance standpoint. With Tatiana, with our finances, we live our life with our group of companies that the tax department is going to come in tomorrow and audit us. So we live completely in that mindset that we're going to get audited tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's the way we live. And so we're in integrity with our finances. We knew that with our foundation that we had to get our money right. My 40s was all about getting my money right. I thought, how can I go out and build a foundation and want to commit $100 million the next decade towards global philanthropy if I don't have my own house in order, if I can't take care of my own backyard, if I don't get my own money right. So years ago, I used to have an R9 credit rating in Canada. Worst case scenario of a credit score you can get. And because I wasn't responsible and accountable for my credit report. And now today I live with impeccable accountability and discipline on all that stuff. And that's something when it comes to money, time will either promote you or time will expose you, is if you're out there raising money, if you don't know how to manage your own money, then guess what? You're going to get exposed over time where people say, well, I don't know if I can give that guy money. My money's calm, cautious, or nervous. I don't know if I want to write a check for that. I attract a lot of money to me, probably like yourself. Why? Because I got my money right because I'm getting promoted, not getting exposed. Same with my relationships. Everything with Tatiana and everything I do in my life. My health earlier this year, I got exposed.
Yeah.
I was at home. I was on the road. I'm like, it's 11 o'clock at night. I don't feel like eating a salad. I'm going to eat fries and a veggie burger. So all this junk. And guess what? Compounded over, just like doing 10 push-ups a day, reading 10 pages a day. No big deal. You eat the French fries today. No big deal. But compounded over the next 365 days of being on the road eating junk food, guess what? Within 12 months, you're going to be 10, 20, 30, 40 pounds overweight. And I got exposed.
Yeah.
And I realized, okay, I got exposed now that weight. I need to discipline, focus, daily habits, daily routines, 60 minutes every day. Now I metric on my watch of physical exercise and activities. I drink about a gallon of water a day now, right? Last night I flew in here before coming here today. It was 10:30 at night when I got to my hotel room. I went downstairs and went for a walk so I could hit my metrics. I was tired, traveling all day. I wanted to go to bed.
Yeah.
But and I worked out to hit my metrics because I gave my word, commit to my commitment, because I want to get promoted, not get exposed.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. If people can realize that time will either promote you or time will expose you. So you can get away with things now. Right. Oh, you will. But guess what? There'll come a day where you'll get exposed.
Yeah. That's a great point, man. I've never heard it put that way, and it's extremely true. Time will either expose you
Or promote you.
Time will promote you. Time is a very key word in life.
It's just a matter of time.
Is the word time. On that note, first of all, you dropped some incredible knowledge here and some great information. If they wanted to know more about it or do research on you or wherever it is
Sure.
there a place? You don't really have anything for sale per se, but is there a place they can go or?
Yeah, you can go to DarrenJacklin.com. It's my main website, and then other website is UntilIBecome.com.
UntilIBecome.
UntilIBecome.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Either one of those websites they can go in. There's information about.
Or you can just
there.
Google Darren Jacklin. You'll see things about what we do and stuff and our foundation.
Oh, it's awesome, man. It's been a great show. Have you talk about really practical, like you said, stuff, takeaway points, which is what I love the most in the show. I don't like the high-level philosophy, which sometimes we get into. I like the daily practical stuff of what's going to help an entrepreneur today.
Well, when I used to go to seminars, I used to leave depressed.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to figure out how to pay my rent on time at the end of the month. And this guy's talking about something, and I'm putting him on a pedestal. I'm down here in the pit.
Yeah.
And I can't relate to his success of him buying some jet or buying some car or traveling the world. I'm just figuring out how do I pay my rent on time?
Yeah, sure.
Right? How do I put food in the refrigerator?
Right.
So I need to know practical steps that I could leave when I left the seminar that day or workshop. How can I leave and apply these things in my life to make a change?
Yeah. No, I love it. Let me ask you the question here
Sure.
on the Money-ish show. We have the science here talking about money, and obviously you have a whole foundation that you recently set up called the Link
Foundation,
which is your family foundation, which you guys are doing some stuff in with kids.
Yeah, over in Africa right now, our Link Leadership Academy, we've committed over the next decade $100 million towards 10 different projects for global philanthropy.
Yeah, which is where you're going to spend the rest of your life, basically, is on the
Yeah, well,
side.
you know, we learn, we earn, and then we return. We do profit for people. So I build a group of companies and build wealth, profit for people.
Yeah, it's tremendous concept. So money obviously has to mean something more than just another car, another house, which all those are great things, and we should have them. But I'll ask you here, Darren, what does money actually mean to you? If you'll put your answer here, we'll talk about it, and then sign it right here, and then me and you can talk about this.
Sure.
Let me give you the Sharpie here. And again, as he's doing that, you guys make sure you check out his website, man. This is a super practical show that we had here today on a lot of how-to information. And the only way you know that stuff is because you got to go do it. That's not stuff, the stuff you were talking about today in great depth is not something you can just repeat back out somewhere. You have to live and do those daily habits or you won't be able to talk about them as deep and as freely as you're able to talk about them. One thing I didn't even tell you was I'm such a geek on this stuff. You guys, Brittany, my assistant, I've literally built my own daily planner. I probably went through like 50 of them, and I was like, man, I can't get the exact thing that I want. I can't get this. I need this in here. I need this in here. And I probably have spent. I don't even want to know. It's got to be 50 grand on a planner. Yeah. Because I understand the importance of when I get here in my routine, and I can go through what needs to happen today. What are my 3 things for the day?
Sure.
And I can go through all those steps. It changes my whole day.
You also have to protect and qualify your time as well.
Yeah, and in that calendar, I have what's on my daily, what's on my weekly, and then I have I can actually show you a copy.
Look
I
forward to
don't
that.
sell it or anything. It's just freaking build it for myself and do it. That's how much of a geek I am on daily those habits right there. So here's Darren Jacklin. His answer for money is making a difference. Money is making a difference. All right, Darren, let's break it down. What does that mean to you? Money is making a difference. What do you mean by that?
Well, the secret to living is giving.
Yeah.
And so the key thing is I use money to build. I use money as a tool to build wealth to solve problems in the world. So whether it's environmental, it's humanitarian things, like right now we're building schools over in the continent of Africa for impoverished areas where kids would never have the opportunity to ever go. And the thing is, if we can educate children, bring in clean drinking water, then they don't become predators or prey to human sex trafficking down the road and organ harvesting, right? We can break the cycle of poverty and alleviate people out of poverty. We can create economic development and job opportunities and career opportunities. So that really makes it, because I understand how education played a role for me as a young kid growing up, being mislabeled, with a learning disability and a reading disability, but also being in special education class. I was just a kid who just thought differently. Yeah. So I didn't relate to the academic world. I was a kid that had a lot of energy that wanted to go do things in life, very practically. And so to me, making a difference is using money for good, right? To find things in your neighborhood, your community, where you live, to pay it forward and pass it on.
Yeah.
Money can build hospitals, money can build schools, money can build art centers, money can, solve environmental problems.
Yeah.
I always say to people who say to me, money's not important. Well, why do you talk about it so much then? People always talk about money. And I always say to people, I say, listen, write down all your problems and challenges, personally, professionally, in your life, write them all down on paper. Every problem or challenge you got. You don't like your teeth, you don't like your relationship, whatever it is, write it all down on paper. And then beside every one, ask yourself, what problem or challenge do I have right now that I cannot write a check for? Mm-hmm. And you'd be very surprised at very few things you cannot write a check for.
Yeah. It's a major misconception that we have convinced ourselves somehow of. Yeah. That this concept of money is bad and money can't, I'm gonna use the words, can't help create happiness. It's not true.
Yeah.
Money very well can help you create happiness. I am not saying that you have to have money to be happy. I'm not saying that. But I'm telling you that money can help you create happiness in the sense of, one of the answers I love that people give is money is experiences.
Yes.
It's experiences.
Yeah.
Money allows you to take your 4 kids and your wife to an incredible vacation at Disney World. Yeah. And create memories and experiences that they'll keep forever in their lives.
Well, I remember a number of years ago, I was flying from Vancouver, Canada to Africa on a humanitarian trip. I met a guy and he says, you need to get an upgrade to business class. I said, why? He said, just trust me. So I cashed in a bunch of points. I wasn't in that position financially. And I got into London Heathrow Airport and I went into the business lounge and the lady said, would you like to book a shower? I said, a shower?
Yeah.
Here I am flying 18 hours in the air, in the airplane.
One of the greatest things.
And I tell you, that shower was like $1 million shower.
It's like priceless.
It was incredible. I got a chance to shave and shower, and it completely changed that international trip for me. When I landed in Africa, I felt refreshed and focused and clean, and it was incredible. But I didn't know there was a shower in an airport. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's funny you mentioned that. Like I've done so much international travel, and I'm telling you, not if you're flying from, Atlanta to London, you get off and go. It's only a 7-hour flight or whatever. But man, when you start taking those long, Dubai,
I was just in Dubai 2 weeks ago.
Singapore, you start hitting those, Australia, and you have those massive layovers. Dude, there's nothing better than getting off the plane, going to the lounge, booking a full, because they give you like a full room. It's like a shared thing. You have a full room to yourself, and you can shower and they have shampoo and you can shave and brush your teeth, and man, you just change your clothes, your socks, your underwear, and it's just you come out and you're like, God, I feel way better right now, way better in life right now. Yeah. It's a very, very
and that changes your self-image.
Yeah, it changes how you feel, it changes how you act on the outside. Darren, man, I love having you on the show, man. It's been an incredible show. It's one of these that I could do multiple episodes with, because there's so much content and rich content that you have inside of it. And sincerely, I mean it when I started off the show, like you are such a upbeat and positive beacon of light. And I love being around people like that have your energy, and it inspires me to be more like that as well, man. It's truly a blessing just literally being around you and in your presence, man. Awesome. You're an awesome guy.
Well, thank you for the difference you're making in people's lives as well.
Thank you, man. Thank you for coming on the show. You guys watching, I hope you guys enjoyed the Money Is Show this week with Darren, Jacklin. We'll see you next time on the Money Is Show.